As a survivor of sexual assault, battery from age 5 on through my teenage years, through my early adulthood, I can tell you that it is very traumatic to be here in this body today and to find my colleagues not taking the recommended updates that people who work with domestic violence victims, those advocates, law enforcement, DAs, the FBI, the Department of Justice, have put in front of them as best practices of what we need to protect all women from violence. You know, one experience that I had that occurred to me, I thought of this morning, was a time when I took a ride with a guy I thought was a friend to go to get some fried chicken. And he decided to take a detour behind some buildings to rape me and choke me almost to death. I was sort of seeing that little light that you often hear about. I went to the hospital, was examined. They could see that I had been raped. I had lacerations on my throat from having been choked. But when we got to court, I was on trial. I was the young woman who had a child out of wedlock. What I wore that night was on trial, and he was found not guilty. This was over 20 years before we had the Violence Against Women Act, when we gave law enforcement the tools and the education to know what the circumstances are with victims. As a woman of color, I am particularly aggrieved that this bill ignores the special circumstances of women who are minorities, women who are in the shadows, and where we have created a veritable sanctuary for those who would commit sexual assault and abuse them on tribal lands, where over 50% of those crimes are not prosecuted because the nearest county seat of government is miles and miles away, where LGBT folk, where lesbians may not be able to get an order of protection because no one will take their plight seriously, or where immigrants are made less safe than they are under current law because, once again, the word of the abuser is felt to be the law of the land. I would implore my colleagues to take up the Senate version of the bill, our version as Democrats of the bill, which passed 68-31, and stop playing games with the lives of women. This is yet another. They don't want to hear us talk about it being a war on women. But I mean, this is a direct assault on women's lives. 3 women a day die from victimization. And I would implore my colleagues to stop playing games. And with that, I would yield